Welcome to Time Slice, where we cut through time one day at a time. Today is July 28th, and this one's a whirlwind. Wars ignite, dictators fall, and peaceful marches make history. From the outbreak of World War I to silent protests, devastating earthquakes, to DNA legends. This day carries weight, wonder, and wake-up calls. Let's rewind the clock and see what makes July 28th so unforgettable. We begin in the sky. On July 28, 1851, the first ever photograph of a total solar eclipse was taken using daguerreotype method. It wasn't just a pretty picture, it was a scientific milestone. For the first time, we had visual proof of a celestial event. From darkened skies to silver plates, the universe had been captured. Have you ever seen a solar eclipse in person? Total awe, right? 7 years later in India, Sir William James Herschel did something revolutionary. He used a person's fingerprint to confirm their identity. It started as a curiosity and became a cornerstone of modern law enforcement. One print, one person, no two alike. It's wild to think that your hands hold your lifelong signature. On this day in 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. What began as a local dispute turned into a global war, with alliances, empires, and millions of lives pulled in. By the time it ended, more than 70 million soldiers had served, and over 16 million people were dead. It started with one shot, and it shook the entire planet. Not all protests raised their voices. On July 28, 1917, 10,000 African Americans marched silently down Fifth Avenue in New York City. They were protesting racial violence, lynching, and injustice. No chants, no signs, just silence and strength. It was one of the first major civil rights demonstrations in US history. Would you have joined that line? Quiet can be louder than a roar. In 1928, Amsterdam welcomed the 9th Olympic Games and several firsts. It was the debut of the Olympic flame. It was the first time women competed in track and field. Progress carried on a torch, and the world watched it burn bright. In Belarus, on this same date during World War II, tragedy had struck. 10,000 Jews from the Minsk ghetto were murdered by Nazi forces. It is one of the countless horrors from the Holocaust, one of too many names, too many numbers. But today, we remember them. Back in Europe, things were shifting. On July 28, 1943, Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist leader, resigned from power under internal pressure and military failure. One man's fall marked the beginning of the Axis unraveling. Even dictators don't stand forever. With World War II still winding down, the US Senate voted 89-2 in favor of joining the newly created United Nations. The world had been torn apart, and now it needed something to hold it together. On this day in 1959, postal codes were introduced in the UK, a simple combo of letters and numbers that revolutionized sorting, delivery, and eventually online shopping. Do you still use yours every day? Thank this quiet innovation. NASA's Ranger 7 launched in 1964 and sent back over 4,000 images of the lunar surface. It was the first successful American moon mission. No humans, just cameras, paving the way for boots to follow. At 3:42 a.m., a devastating earthquake hit Tangshan, China. Estimated magnitude 8.2. Estimated deaths nearly 500,000. It was the deadliest earthquake of the 20th century. A city crushed, a nation in mourning. In 1990, Alberto Fujimori was sworn in as president of Peru. His time in power brought economic reforms, but also authoritarian tactics and major corruption scandals. Some legacies build, others crack beneath them. And finally, in 2005, the Irish Republican Army, or IRA, formally announced an end to its armed struggle. Instead of bullets, it would now pursue change through democratic means, a step towards peace in Northern Ireland, after decades of conflict. Famous birthdays on July 28th. 1929, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Iconic First Lady of the United States and global cultural figure. 1954, Hugo Chavez, Socialist President of Venezuela and controversial world voice. 1971, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, former leader of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, killed in 2019. 1974, Alexis Tsipras, Greek Prime Minister during the Eurozone financial crisis. Notable passings on July 28, 1930, Alvar Gullstrand, Swedish ophthalmologist, Nobel Prize winner in 1911. 1968, Otto Hahn, German chemist, discovered nuclear fission, Nobel laureate. 1999, Trygve Havelmo, Norwegian economist, Nobel Prize winner in 1989. 2002, Archer J.P. Martin, English chemist, Nobel Prize winner in 1952. 2004, Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA structure, Nobel Prize in 1962. And that's July 28th, a day when silence made noise, dictators stepped down, and the Earth itself trembled. From the moon's shadow to war's outbreak, from Olympic flames to peaceful protests, history showed us its light and its darkness. Which moment hit you the hardest today? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and come back tomorrow right here on Time Slice.